So, speaking of strange studio choices, was it the real Ghostbusters cartoon? I heard you auditioned for your own voice, and they turned you down for
Yeah, it was.
Arsenio.
Well, it was kind of it was interesting because when I heard they were doing the animated series, the cartoon, that I thought, wow, okay, that'll be great. And I assume that's another thing I've learned not to do. Like people talk about the third Ghostbusters, I don't assume anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to be a part of it, but these people do some strange stuff, and when I start assuming stuff, I can really get you can really get disappointed. So I thought the animated thing, I thought it was a done deal, and so they said, well, the director wants you to come in, and he wants to hear your voice. And I go, well, am I auditioning? Well, you're not auditioning. They just want to hear your voice. But when I went there are 3 or 4 other guys sitting there, and I'm like, well, why are these guys here? But I went ahead and I did it anyway. And in the middle of the audition, the director said, no, stop. He says, I want you to do it more like, he says, when Ernie Hudson did the part, he sounded like, and I'm like, well, but I'm Ernie Hudson. So, and I think he forgot for a moment that I was, and he says, oh, yeah. But I think what happened, and I don't know for sure, I think the director or somebody wanted Arsenio Hall, and I don't think Ivan in the studio really evidently cared one way or the other, because they didn't exactly turn me down. They called and said, would I be available to do this thing every whatever the dates were, and I was doing something else. I work another TV show, and I said, well, I wasn't available for this one episode, and then the next thing we heard, they had already cast it. Now, with animated stuff, they work around. If you can't make a session, you make it up. So I think it was just the excuse they needed to not. When I say to the people I met that I didn't get turned down for the part, but it was kind of clear that I wasn't whose ever first choice that was. Once again, I don't really know and I don't really understand, and it was disappointing because I think I would have loved to have whatever came out of that character. I really wanted to be a part of that, but you bring what you bring to the table, and if they feel it's valuable enough, and if not, then whatever. I mean, that's
more politics.
Yeah, it's more politics, but at the end of the day, you have to be at peace with yourself.
Yeah.
And so being upset over what this guy did and how come Ivan didn't call somebody and how come that guy didn't, you can just lose your mind trying to figure that thing out. And I remember being in New York, and we were there for the promotion of Ghostbuster, the second Ghostbuster, the first Ghostbuster, I think it had just come out. And I was standing with Ivan Reitman. We were on our way to lunch somewhere, and we're standing on the corner by the Plaza Hotel, waiting for the car to come up, and this guy comes up and he says, "Hey, Ernie, man, what the hell's going on? How come you ain't in the, how come I saw that poster, man, you're not on the poster? How come they ain't got your name up there?" And I'm like, you talk to him about it. I said, I got nothing to say about that, but it is what it is, and I think the frustrating thing about Ghostbusters was it was almost the opposite. When the movie came out, where I had been working pretty steady, there was like no work. It was the film stuff. Even Columbia, who produced the movie, things just sort of dried up, and it was bizarre. I mean, and I was a single parent. I was raising my 2 sons. At that point, my marriage had ended, and the boys had come to live with me, and I just couldn't make sense out of that at all. What I realized is that as an actor, we train, and so I started doing, I did some, for the first time, I did commercials. I did some TV stuff that I hadn't been doing. I think it was around the time, maybe the A-Team I did Little House on the Prairie. I did Bosom Buddies, different stories. I did all those shows to kind of keep things going, but movies, it wasn't until maybe about 3 years later that I got cast in a feature, Weeds, with Nick Nolte. But so it was really that part I didn't get, because I thought, oh, this would mean that the movies would open up as opposed to just the opposite.
Yeah.
So,
would you say that when you landed the role on HBO for Oz, would you say that was kind of up there as far as popularity goes with the Ghostbusters and being recognized? Or?
Well, yeah, but Oz, I suppose, I'm not really sure. People how you're perceived in the industry, I don't have a good, clear picture of that. Maybe that's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing. I don't really know. I know that people know who I am, and they know my work, and so whenever I'm on the street, people will come up and people will remember, various movies, and because I've had to do a variety of movies, there's certain fans, who will know me from one thing and other fans from other things. But Oz, Oz, when I did Oz, I did, during that period when I wasn't working in movies, I did a television show called Saint Elsewhere. I did 8 episodes, and Tom Fontana was the editor of that show, writer and editor, and we talked about working together again, and this was many years later. He called me and said, "Hey, we talked about working together." I didn't remember talking about working together, and he says, "Well, I got this thing." So he called me and basically said, "I want you to, be a part of it." So it wasn't something I had to go and audition for. That series was sort of interesting because when I got into it, I thought it would be a regular series, where you do 22 episodes, and it turned out Tom really didn't want to bring in other writers. He wanted to write all the shows, and so we only did 8 shows a season. Now, the downside of that is you can't really make any money. I mean, I have a home in Los Angeles. We're shooting in New York. So by the time I do 8 episodes, it's over, and I got to go look for a job, but I can't take another series because... So Oz was one of those sort of mixed blessings. It was very popular, and still is, but in terms of, that fan base, I don't know, because the interesting thing about popularity and recognizability is that you don't get paid for that. Now, if you can find a way to capitalize on that, then I kind of go, yeah, I'm really popular because I got to check for $1 million. But the reality is, I don't really know. I don't know how I'm perceived in the industry. I just do my job. But I'm glad to have done it. I feel very proud of Oz, and I really admire a lot of the actors who worked on that show. It was really, really talented guys and who put a lot on the line. I had a great time doing it. But there's been a few things in my career that I go, yeah, I'm really, glad to have done that. And I see people on the street who come up and who mention things, but what that means in the scheme of things, I don't really know. But nothing in terms of popularity sort of equals the Ghostbusters, because it's just, people still remember it, people still talk about it.
Yeah.
It sort of plays, by itself.
Do you have any upcoming projects right now that you're working on?
Well, what I've been around the business for a long time, and what I do is I don't want to say diversify, but I did a recurring on Law and Order last season, the original Law and Order. Faith Murkison. I played her boyfriend, the loving boyfriend who sort of goes through her cancer treatment with her, and that was fun because I really like her, and it was interesting being on that show and not being one of the policemen or one of the attorneys and not a criminal. So it was kind of a nice turn, and I had a good time on that. I do a show called Secret Life of the American Teenager on ABC Family. I really enjoyed doing Molly Ringwald, who was a little kid in Space Hunter when we did it, and she's on that show, and wow. I play a psychiatrist, and so I've been doing that for, I think it's the 3rd year. I don't do all the shows. I do every few shows. I go in, and that's a lot of fun. Do films sometimes. I did a movie called Game of Death with Wesley Snipes in Detroit back in November. John Snyder, who I did during that lull after Ghostbusters, I did an episode of Dukes of Hazzard. And John and I became friends, and we just shot a movie in Texas called Doonby together. I just got back a few weeks ago. Okay. Some animated stuff, some voiceover stuff. I'm doing a lot of public speaking, and that's a whole other thing. So doing, just kind of, I guess, having a good time. Doing, a little this, speaking here, doing the autograph conventions are fun. I mean, you get a chance to meet all the people, and not taking any of it too serious, and just enjoying the ride, and waiting for something really fun to do. And that's just, I think, how I look at it. I think I don't get too excited about. I think the old days when you put a lot of hope on, oh, when I do this, this will mean this, and when this movie comes out, then they're gonna. I don't do that anymore. It's like, you know what? I'm just. It's nice to be working.
All right, man. Well, do you have any parting words?
No, man. I'm just. I'm glad and I really. I swear, I apologize, but I really had 9 o'clock in my head, and so I hate to have you guys had to, stay up a little longer for it. But I'm glad we got it done.
Oh no, it was worth it.
Great to talk to you.
Yeah, it was great to talk to you. I'm glad we finally got hooked up here.
Yep, finally.
Yeah, well, good luck with everything. Where you guys at, in Minneapolis or?
Mankato. It's about an hour south.
Oh, it's south of Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Okay. Well, like I said, just good luck with everything.
Thanks.
And
Thanks,
thanks
man.
for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.